Have you ever stopped to think about your eyes? I mean, really think about them? Today we're diving into one of the most incredible biological machines out there, the human eye. We're going to break down exactly how this amazing little organ takes in simple light and turns it into the rich, colorful world you see all around you. All right, so here's our game plan. Think of it like a journey. We're going to follow a single ray of light from the moment it leaves an object, travels through the front window of your eye, gets focused, and finally hits the back wall where all the real magic happens. Let's get started. So, first things first. The easiest way to wrap your head around how the eye works is to think of it not just as a body part, but as an incredibly advanced piece of living technology. Seriously, think about that for a second. Light is just energy. It's waves bouncing off of everything. How in the world does that become your friend's face, or a sunset, or the words you're reading right now? That's the big question, and we're about to answer it. And here it is. This is the secret. Your eye is basically a camera. A biological one for sure, but a camera nonetheless. It's got a lens, it's got an aperture to control the light, and it has a sensor in the back. All the parts are there. They're just made of living tissue instead of metal and glass. This camera analogy, it's going to be our guide for this whole journey.
So where does our ray of light begin its adventure? Well, just like any photo, it all starts with light entering the camera. And for the eye, that first stop is the clear, protective window right at the front. Meet the cornea. This is that tough, totally transparent layer on the very surface of your eye. Its job number one is to act as a shield, protecting you from dust and germs. But its second job is even cooler. See that curve? The cornea does the first and actually the most powerful bit of light bending. It starts focusing the world for you the very instant light hits your eye. Now, behind that cornea, the eye is filled with two important fluids. Up front, you've got the aqueous humor, which is a watery liquid that delivers nutrients and keeps things healthy. And then the main part of the eyeball is filled with a thick, jelly-like stuff called the vitreous humor. That's what gives your eye its round shape. It's like the internal scaffolding that holds everything together. Okay, the light is officially inside. But just like with a real camera, you can't just let any old amount of light in. Too much, and the picture gets completely washed out. Too little, and you can't see a thing. So the eye needs a way to control the flow. And that brings us to the iris and the pupil. The iris, that's the colorful part, what makes your eyes blue or brown or green, is actually a tiny muscle. And its whole job is to squeeze and relax to change the size of that little black dot in the center, the pupil. The pupil is literally the doorway for light. You've seen this happen a million times. You walk outside on a sunny day, and your iris immediately clamps down, making the pupil tiny to protect your eye from being overwhelmed. Then you walk into a dark room, and it opens up wide, trying to catch every single photon of light it can find. It's totally automatic, and it happens in a flash. Right, so we've controlled how much light is coming in. Now it's time to get it perfectly focused. And this brings us to one of the most incredible parts of the eye, its living, breathing, autofocus system. This is the lens. Now, unlike the hard, rigid piece of glass in a camera, the lens in your eye is soft, flexible, and can actually change its shape. That amazing flexibility is how you can look at a mountain in the distance and then, in less than a second, focus on the words on your phone right in front of your face. This shape-shifting act is called accommodation, and it's all done by these tiny things called ciliary muscles. When you look at something far away, those muscles just relax, letting the lens get flatter and thinner. But the moment you look at something up close, those muscles contract, squeezing the lens and making it thicker and more curved to nail that perfect focus. It's a non-stop workout happening inside your eyes all day long, and you don't even have to think about it. So, let's recap. The light has been gathered, the amount has been controlled, and it has been perfectly focused. It has now traveled all the way to the very back of the eye. This is it. This is the final destination. This is where light stops being just light and finally starts the process of becoming sight. But hold on. Before we go any further, here's a totally wild fact for you. Because the light passed through that curved, convex lens, the image that gets projected onto the back of your eye is completely upside down. Yeah, and flipped left to right. Hang on to that thought because it's a super important piece of this puzzle. So, this back wall of the eye is called the retina. In our camera analogy, the retina is the digital sensor. It's a super complex layer of tissue that is just packed with millions and millions of tiny, specialized cells whose only job is to detect light and turn it into an electrical signal. And these cells are biological pixels, come in two main types, rods and cones. Rods are incredibly sensitive. They're our night vision specialists, seen in black and white and very dim light. Cones, on the other hand, need a lot more light to work, but they are the ones that see in brilliant color and give us that sharp, high-definition detail. Now, the retina isn't just a simple, uniform sheet of these rods and cones. This biological sensor has some really interesting and unique features, and believe it or not, even a few built-in glitches. Let me ask you this. Do you think a perfectly designed camera would have a dead spot on its sensor, a spot that couldn't see anything at all? Probably not, right? Well, guess what? Your eye does. It's called the blind spot, and it's basically where all the wiring, the big bundle of nerves called the optic nerve, plugs into the back of the eyeball to head to the brain. There's just no room for any rods or cones there, so you literally have a tiny hole in your vision in each eye. The only reason you never ever notice it is because your amazing brain just fills in the gap with its best guess. Wild, right? But to make up for that little glitch, your eye also has a super-powered, high-performance zone. It's called the yellow spot, or the fovea. This is a tiny little pit on the retina that is absolutely jam-packed with cones. When you stare directly at something, like when you're reading these words, you are pointing your fovea right at it to get the sharpest, most detailed, and most colorful image possible. It's your eye's HD zone. So let's quickly hit the highlights, the big takeaways. Remember, the image that actually lands on your retina is real, but it's inverted, it's upside down. The eye uses a convex lens to focus, making it work just like a camera. And for vision, you have a high-def sweet spot called the fovea, but also a total dead zone called the blind spot. These are the absolute fundamentals of your incredible living camera.
And that brings us to our final and maybe most fascinating question. We follow the light all the way to the retina. We know the image it creates is upside down. So who flips it? The answer, of course, is that the eye is only half of the equation. The most powerful image processor on the planet, your brain, is what takes that messy, inverted electrical signal and effortlessly turns it into the rich, vibrant, right-side-up world you see every single day. But how it does that, well, that's a story for another time.